الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. اللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم احنا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. ثم أما بعد, dear respected brothers and sisters, Nawas ibn Sam'an is one of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, who narrated so many hadith, who came to Al-Madinah al-Munawwarah, and he stayed there for a year. And he said, in this hadith in Sahih Muslim, he said that nothing prevented me from going back to my hometown except asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not dare to ask the Prophet ﷺ so many questions, as he ﷺ prohibited his Sahaba to ask so many questions. You only want to ask practical questions. A good question is a practical question, not theoretical. Otherwise, people like always to ask so many questions. And why is that? That's an important thing. The Quran actually talked about this. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَسْأَلُوا عَنْ أَشْيَاءَ إِن تُبْدَ لَكُمْ تَسُؤْكُمْ. Asking good questions is a way of gaining knowledge. And as believers, we face so many situations all the time. So we need to ask the people of knowledge. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. If you don't know, ask the people of knowledge. But asking theoretical questions, what if? How should I do this and how should I do that? If the Prophet ﷺ did not make any statement about this subject, then you don't have to ask about it. It is not prohibited and it's not an obligation. As we all know, all our activities fall into one of the five ethical categories. Any action we do as Muslims when it comes to halal and haram. One is prohibition, things that we cannot do. And less than this, what is detested or disliked. It's not haram, but it is recommended not to do it. And then what's permissible, which falls in the middle. And then what is recommended. And then what is obligated. So we have prohibition, and the other end we have obligation. Detested, recommended, and in between is what is permissible. It is not recommended, is not encouraged or discouraged, is not a wajib, it's not haram. That's permissible, right? If you want to take a nap, that's permissible. You can't pray Jumma and go home and take a nap. That's permissible. There's no recommendation to take a nap after Jumma or not to take a nap after. It's not haram, it's not wajib, right? So it's permissible. And most of our activities, in fact, fall into this category. Most of our activities. And as our ulama said that everything is permissible unless it's proven otherwise. Everything is naturally permissible unless Allah said, no, you cannot do it. So the Prophet ﷺ did not encourage his companions to ask so many fiqhi questions because of that. Because Islam aimed to take most of our activities from the category of haram and restricted into the category of permissible. And that's made very clear by the Prophet ﷺ. It made very clear. He said, halal is what Allah made halal in His book. And haram is what Allah made haram in His book. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not talk about is permissible. So accept this permissibility from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah would never forget anything. When Allah did not say anything about something, this is not because Allah, astaghfirullah, forgot about it. No. We believe our Sharia is complete. So if Allah and His Messenger did not say something about some activities, then it is permissible. And unfortunately, what we do sometimes is we are doing the opposite. We are taking so many activities from the circle of permissibility and put it into the restricted area. No, it's not permissible. It's not. it is makruh or it's haram. We are very good in doing this. Islam actually intended to do the opposite, to have less restrictions, less haram. That's why what is haram is numbered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us a list of what's halal. He gave us a list of what's haram. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. All these things, avoid these things. And everything else. So everything is permissible because Allah created all these things for us to enjoy, to use, but He prohibited some kind of food and some kind of drink and some kind of transactions. But that remaining is permissible by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not like people to ask so many questions, because what happens if you ask so many questions? Allah said, make wudu. Do I have to make wudu before every prayer? Oh, now you're asking an extra question. No, if you still have wudu, you can pray 4 or 5 prayers with the same wudu. The guy who asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet said, Hajj is obligatory, so make Hajj if you are able to. And this man stood up and he said, Ya Rasul, is it every year? What kind of a silly question. If it was every year, the Prophet would have said every year. But he did not say it. He said, make Hajj. If you make it once in your lifetime, khalas, you did what the Prophet said. You did Hajj. And the Prophet did not like this question. He did not like this question. And he said, if I said yes, it would have been obligatory upon you to make Hajj every year. And you wouldn't have been able to make it. So when I don't say something, don't ask about it. Don't ask so many questions. So, An-Nawas ibn Sam'an came to Al-Madinah Munawwara and he wanted to go back home to his hometown, but he waited and waited. You know why? Because the Sahaba, the Muhajirin and Ansar, those who stayed in Medina, they like to see new Muslims coming from out of Medina because they have the right to ask questions. People come to ask the Prophet questions to decide whether to convert to Islam or not. Or maybe they're Muslim, but the new Muslims have a lot of questions. So the Sahaba would love to see someone come from outside asking questions. Stay and listen. They cannot ask questions themselves, unless they have to. So Nawas ibn Sam'an said, I want to go back home, but I waited and waited. And finally, I asked the Prophet ﷺ. He got the courage to ask a good question. He asked about al-birr wal-ithm. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what is al-birr and what is al-ithm? And birr, I'm sure you heard this word so many times, the Quranic term, al-birr, laysa al-birr, an tuwallu wujuhakum, walakin al-birra man aman. So al-birr, as some ulama said, is a very comprehensive word that includes all kind of good deeds. Anything that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is birr. Prayer, fasting, giving sadaqah, believing in Allah, dua, all these things are considered birr. And al-ithm is the opposite of this. Sin. Anything that we can consider bad deed. Any form of bad deed. So, mal birru wa mal ithm. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him a very short and very meaningful and comprehensive answer. And he said, al-birru husn al-khuluq. Definition of al-birr is husn al-khuluq. Al-birr, virtue, piety, righteousness is husn al-khuluq, a good behavior. And what's al-ithm, ya Rasulullah? He said, wal-ithmu ma haka fi sadrika wa karihta an yattali alayhi nas. And sin is that which creates discomfort in your heart, doubt. And you don't like people to know about it. Now I know that people always like to ask a mufti about, can I do this and can I do that? It happens all the time. And here's something that you don't need to have a mufti to ask. You have to ask, you are the mufti of yourself. When you feel discomfortable about anything, when you don't like people to know about it, that's it, that's sin, that's bad. That's one of the indications that this transaction, this act, is not good, even if you don't have any imam or mufti in your community. You have to be the mufti of yourself sometimes. Istafti qalbak, as it came in other hadith, ask your heart. And sometimes community members come, brother or sister, come and ask, And they talk and talk and talk and then ask if this is okay. And I ask back, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, we don't feel comfortable about it. They want someone to say, yeah, it's permissible, it's okay, you can do it. And I say, well, if you don't feel comfortable, why are you asking me? Yeah, of course, it's haram, because you know it's haram, because you don't want people to know about it. You don't want people to know about it. So, al-birru husn al-khuluq. Beautiful hadith, al-birru husn al-khuluq. That's al-birr. But how about our ibadah, our fasting and prayer and dua? That's not khuluq, this is ibadah. It's a khuluq with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because khuluq is not only when we interact with people, but there are particular akhlaq we have to have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to feel shy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? To love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Him, to bow down, to humble yourself to Allah. It's akhlaq with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in Him, to honor His orders and His commands, His limits, His hudud. تلك حدود الله فلا تعتدوها ومن يتعدى حدود الله فأولئك هم الظالمون. Those who pass and transgress the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the transgressors. They transgress against their own selves. They are not harming Allah, they are harming themselves. So al-birru husn al-khuluq. Husn al-khuluq with Allah is to worship Him, to follow His commands, and stay away from the prohibition. And husn al-khuluq ma'a nas is to be nice and kind with everybody. So al-birru husn al-khuluq. Al-birru husn al-khuluq. It's not how you look from outside. Because this kind of religiosity is attractive to many people. People judge the religiosity of people based on how they look. Right? And that's not what Islam is talking about here. Rasulullah said that khuluq, the akhlaq, your behavior, determines whether you are following al-birr or al-ithm. The outside looking does not really reflect al-birr. So the easiest thing to do is to look righteous, whatever this means in each community. The outside looking is more important to some. And this kind of outward religiosity is usually, it's made for the community, for the society, for people. And it's not genuine. But the real religiosity, the real birr is husn al-khuluq. Being honest, being sincere, say the truth. Being helpful to others. To be straightforward. To be trustworthy, to gain the trust of the people. That's husn al-khuluq. I don't care how you look like, what kind of dress you wear. That's nothing. What you say and what you do is real birr. That reflects real akhlaq. Al-birru husn al-khuluq, as he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The other beautiful hadith, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a believer will attain by his good behavior the rank of one who prays during the night and observes fasting during the day. إن الرجل لا يبلغ بحسن خلقه درجة الصائم القائم. Has moderate level of ibadah, does not pray so much, does not fast so much, but he has good akhlaq. He will attain the level, the rank, the daraja of the one who fasts every day and pray all night. He will be in the same level in Jannah. He takes care of his parents and is nice to his family and his neighbors. He's honest, he's sincere, he's helpful, he shares. Or she, of course, in this case. And this person, although he does not fast so much, does not pray so much, he prays the fara'id and fasts Ramadan, and does not do so much form of ibadat. But because of his akhlaq, he will be the same level when the person who fasts every day and pray all night. إن الرجل لا يبلغ أو إن العبد لا يبلغ بحسن خلقه درجة الصائم القائم. Because الصائم, القائم The ulama said that he's doing something, he's resisting his desire to sleep during the night and to eat and drink in the daytime. So he's doing something that requires mujahada. And similarly, husn al-khuluq also requires sabr, patience, and understanding of people's situations. It takes also a lot of effort to conduct yourself with this husn al-khuluq. And also the one who prays all night and fast every day, he benefits himself. He's doing good to himself. Of course, getting closer to Allah, getting more hasanat, and so on. But the one who has husn al-khuluq, his good actually reaches others. He benefits others with his husn al-khuluq. This is not to say that you have either husn al-khuluq or ibadat. We should have both. And in fact, the more we do ibadah, the more our akhlaq should be better. The irony here is that some people have a lot of ibadat, are doing a lot of ibadat, but are last people you want to deal with. Don't trust them. They're not trustworthy. Their ibadat did not increase the level of their akhlaq. And again, because it's outward things. It's not deep inside. Focusing on the outside and forget about what's inside. So, إن الرجل لا يبلغ بحسن خلقه درجة الصائم القائم. This is a definition, a very short but very also deep meaning of al-birr. Al-birr حسن الخلق. والإثم, what's al-ithm? ما حاك في صدرك. ما حاك في صدرك. Because keep in mind, all Islamic rulings, Islamic ahkam, halal and haram, they are all originally are ethical categories. Islam categorizes our action based on its morality. So every immoral is haram. Right? And every useful thing and ethical thing is made obligatory or recommended, depends on the level of the benefit. So if something harmful, unethical, Islam strictly make it haram. Don't do it, because it's unethical. Right? So, وَالْإِثْمُ مَا حَاكَ فِي صَدْرِكَ, this means that what you feel by your own inner nature, your fitra, and your heart tells you, I don't feel comfortable with this. That's, I feel this something. I don't know, I'm not a faqih, I'm not a scholar, but I feel as a human, as a person with common sense, that that's not appropriate. Then don't do it. Because you're responsible. This feeling that tells you that's immoral, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we are moral people by nature. I know there are a lot of philosophies about this, but I believe that we by nature are moral. We have this sense of what's lawful, what's unlawful, what's ethical, what's unethical. Everybody knows stealing is unethical, regardless of religion or culture. Everybody knows. Even animals know that. Right? So وَالْإِثْمُ مَا حَاكَ فِي صَدْرِكَ, and you don't like others to know about it. There are statistics about people who work in big corporations that the majority of employees, they steal from the workplace. Pens, papers, right? Stuff like this, little stuff, but still called stealing. They take whatever they can from their office. Majority of employees do that. They consider it to be okay, but if your boss is there, would you take this? No, of course not. I don't want anybody to see me all doing this. Then this haram, don't do it. Islam wants to produce honest people who observe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is with us all the time. I may be alone, but this does not make me convinced that I can take something that's not mine. As a believer, we should always follow this criteria. Whatever we feel discomfortable about, whatever we don't want people to know about, is haram. You should not do it. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those who repent to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us taqwa that prevent us from doing haram. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of us and to bless our families. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله، اتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم ملاقوه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Brothers and sisters, before I end, we all know what's happening in Syria. All these families have been bombarded with bombs all the time. Their homes destroyed for no sin they have committed, innocent civilian people. Regardless of politics, it seems that, as Time magazine said, that we lost our humanity. We don't feel what these people are feeling. Innocent men, women, children who got killed and their life destroyed because whatever political conflict going on there. We as humans, as Muslims, we should always try our best to help them as much as we can. And the least we can do is to pray to them, that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our prayers to protect them and to protect their lives and their homes. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide for them as the whole world neglected them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring peace and security to this part where there are plenty of conflict. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us justice in this life and life after. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إني أسألك رزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا، وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا، وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لي في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث فأصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا إلى أحد من الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وشفاء من كل داء، ونسألك الغنى عن الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. اللهم كن مع إخواننا المسلمين المستضعفين في سوريا وفي فلسطين وفي كل مكان من أرضك يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظهم بحفظك واكلأهم بعنايتك ورعايتك. اللهم داوي جرحاهم، اللهم أطعم جائعهم، اللهم اكس عريانهم، اللهم كن لهم ناصرا ومعينا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. تستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. أقم الصلاة.